The question is, when I became a single mom, when my babies were smaller, did I question my ability to raise them? This question was sent by Sharon. I think, to be 100% perfectly honest, I never questioned my ability to raise my children. And when I say that, you'd have to know the backstory. So I was raised to be a wife and mother. I know that doesn't sound right in 2020 because most people are career people. But when I was being raised with my grandparents who took care of me when I was young, my grandmother did not see past her third grade education. What women were supposed to do was to be wives and mothers. And so everything I was taught was about the home. It was about how to work the yard, how to work the garden, how to work in the fields, which I have done. Don't get it twisted. I got my nails done, but I have worked in the fields. It was about cooking meals and washing laundry and making do with what you had. So when I answer, I didn't question my ability to raise kids. That's true because I knew how to do that. But I think what I would say is I had not prepared to be a single parent. I had prepared and had joined my life with someone. And I thought that that would be a shared burden and a joy. I thought we would do it together. So I went into, I know how to do this mode versus, oh, woe is me. And I became a hard person. I became I got to raise these kid focused. I got to make sure that they turn out to be good humans. I got to make sure that they live a godly life. And I became very, very focused, no peripheral, all tunnel vision. And that made me hard on my kids. They could not do any wrong. They could not be outside of line because people were looking at us and they were expecting us to fail because we were a single family. We were a single parent family. I was a single mom. And the world society says my family should fail because the husband left. And I couldn't have that. And so what I did was I came down really hard. I pulled in all of my resources and focused right here. My kids, my family, my situation. And it was going to be perfect. And they want to toe the line. And that was unfair to them. It was unfair to me. The divorce was unfair all around. One thing I would say to people is if you are ever planning to divorce, don't get married and definitely don't have children. It is much, let me say this with a grain of salt now, it's much easier is not the right word. It's a different situation to separate yourself from a person than to separate your family. That's hard. Because now you have to pick and the kids have to choose and you have to wonder if, now you got to deal with the new person in their life or they got to deal with the ex-person in your life and all these things that come with being divorced. But to go back to the original question, I never questioned whether I could be a good mom. There was a lot in my life that I had done as a 2-parent household that I could not still do as a 1-parent household. So again, I brought in all my resources. We cut all the fluff. We got on routines. We got structured. Not that we weren't before, but we micro-structured so that I could focus, so that I could function in this new normal. That was, Dad was not in the house and I had the children full time. And so where we had partnered together before, that partnership had been broken. And that is a challenge. Again, not my ability to parent, my ability to cope with the divorce, I would say was higher in my mind than was, can I parent these kids? That's when I started the couponing. That's when I leaned on my friends and church members to help me function as a person, somebody to talk to roll ideas off because it was just me. And so that was a challenge in the very beginning. But no, I didn't question my ability to raise my kids. But I will say that irreparable damage can be done when you become very focused and you still find yourself digging out of all of that later on the back end. If we're not careful how we process the separation and divorce, that can bleed over into how we raise our kids, and we can be accusatory and we can point the finger and we can do all of those types of things, not sharing your part. But the truth is, and very honestly, the children have nothing to do with your marriage. You married that person. So those types of issues probably should not be discussed with them. And we have to, as divorcees, have to know how to navigate raising my kids apart from the divorce, right? I got to process that, but right now I have a task in front of me. Was it easy? No, but I did have a network. I had a village, if you want to use that word. I had a village of people that surrounded me and that were able to help me process what I was going through. And so for that, I was thankful, right? God is gracious and he gives us what we need when we need it. And he knew at that time that I needed support, and my church was very, very supportive of myself and my children. My pastor and his wife just swooped in and they began to help me to process and to grow as a person and as a woman ultimately. And then they were there for my children when they needed a dad to step in. My pastor was there. He was there in their very early years, in those formative years when I just wasn't sure how Jackson was going to process being the only kid not to have his dad live in the house when the other kids had dad in the house. And, again, God swooped in and he had people swoop in and we did all the things. There were a lot of things that my kids missed. The one thing that I feel really bad about, and I don't know how to fix this for her, but Alana never got to go to the daddy-daughter dance. She never got to go to that. There was never a dad available that would offer to take her, and her dad was never here to take her. So I pray that as we move along and that God answers my prayer for another marriage, a final marriage, that dad would just love on her like she was his own child, his own flesh and blood, and maybe do some of the things. I don't want to say make up for what she missed, because she hasn't missed anything. She's had a full life, but to do some of the things that a dad would do. And can you make it up on the back end? I think you can. My dad and I did not have a relationship really until I was in my 30s. And we have a good relationship now, and I'm very thankful for that. So I think you can make it up on the back half. And then I look at Jack and I want him to know what it is like to have a strong male presence in the home. I don't want to override that or shroud him in this strong mom. I need him to have a strong male presence in his life that he can turn to help him develop as a man. I can help my sons become humans, good citizens, law-abiding, tax-paying, but I'll never be able to teach them how to be a man. That's just not an ability that I have being a woman. I don't have that. I don't go through the things that they go through. I don't feel the things that they feel. He's growing, and certain things on his body are growing. And sometimes I have to call his brother and say, hey, can you help me out? I mean, I can go through the structure of things, but sometimes they need a male to talk to, and I can't be that, and I will never be that. There are a lot of women who celebrate themselves on Father's Day. I will never be a father. I am a woman. I'm a wife. Potentially down the line, I'm speaking those things that be not, and I'm a mom. So I'll never take the place of that. So I have had those thoughts, like there are missing pieces in my children's lives that I can't give them, but I've never questioned my ability to parent. I was raised to be a mom. That was my one solid job until one of my teachers specifically saw something in me, and she began to nurture that education part and push me towards education. Had it been for my grandparents, I would have married the boy across the street and we would all been working on the farm. That was their mindset for me. And so you go with that. So thank you so much for sending in your question. I never questioned my ability to parent. I don't question my ability to parent now, even though I have adult children. I have changed my parenting style with my adult children versus my children that are still at home. I respect them more as individuals, as good law-abiding, tax-paying citizens that I raised them to be. I respect their opinions. I think a lot more than I did in the past, because when you're a hard parent, it's what I say, what I want goes, no questions, blah, blah, blah. Now I have more of a listening ear. I have more compassion to understand what they're going through that I may not have had before. But I hope that answers your question. Again, thank you so much for sending that in.